Good morning. Hope everybody's having a good Sunday. So today I'm going to discuss paradoxes and contradictions, which one might wonder, why would you be talking about that? Well, paradoxes are interesting, especially if you want to be a good leader, because you actually have to contend and to be okay with paradoxes while still being rational. So the next thing is, well, how can you believe in paradoxes? And this brings into discussion about what's the difference between a contradiction and a paradox. Now, regarding leadership, it's interesting that as a good leader, you need to have certain things that are paradoxical. For instance, if you're a wise leader, you have to be willing to look like a fool. Or if you have vision, you have to be able to see what's not there. And strictly speaking, if you're seeing what's not there, and you're not a crazy person, there's something strange going on. Because if everybody could see it, then everybody would have vision. Clearly, great leaders have vision, and the ones that fail lack that vision. There's other things. To live, you must die. A strong leader can appear weak. All of these paradoxes make us wonder, what's going on. So what's the difference between a contradiction and a paradox? A contradiction is something like A and not A. It's something that cannot be at the same time and in the same sense true. Okay, so contradictions are bad in the sense that if you believe one, then there's something wrong. You're holding two opposing viewpoints that just can't happen. It's kind of like putting a no poster on a wall. It itself is something that is going against what it's standing for. So you don't want to embrace contradiction. These are bad. On the other hand, you need to embrace paradoxes, and paradoxes are basically two things that are true, and somehow they seem opposed to each other. For instance, a person with vision can see what isn't the case yet, but it could be the case. But there's many layers to, teasing out why that is interesting. So for instance, Walt Disney had this vision of not only a theme park, but also something like an entirely new city. Like he wanted to create an ordered city full of visionary, imaginative, creative, scientific. Basically, people want to change the world. His vision wasn't completely realized. It became what is known as Epcot now, Epcot Center, which is only a dim shadow of his vision. But the idea is that he saw something that certainly was possible, and it was admirable. But even though it wasn't completely realized, it was able to motivate people. And that's what's interesting. But anyways, paradoxes are basically things that are held in tension. A wise leader needs to dare to be a fool. We find this in Scripture, but we also find this in just how good leaders interact. If you're a wise person, you are going to ask questions that may make you unpopular. If you're not willing to that, then, are you a leader at all? Sometimes you actually have to stand for things that other people think that you're just nuts. Okay? And if you can't do that, then you're not a very good leader. And this is true for every leader that you study throughout history. So pick up a book on leadership. You will find this a little bit more compelling. If you have studied leadership, or if you had studied philosophy or something like that, the difference between contradictions and paradoxes are very interesting. So in short, though, a contradiction is something that you cannot hold rationally at the same time, A and not A. Paradoxes are things that they have tensions, and they are strangely both true at the same time. In covering this ground, there'll be a more complete article about distinguishing the difference between contradictions, paradoxes, and even mysteries, in an article that will be attached to the comments. It'll probably happen later today, so stay tuned. But later this week, we'll talk about the paradoxes of leadership, now that we've talked about paradoxes. So you guys have a great Sunday. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.